Hello and welcome to the I Must Ask You a Question show. I'm Tim Nichols.
And I'm Jim Bardwell.
And today we're going to discuss 30 seconds to thrive. We're going to rediscover the art of making introductions. Jim, you had some thoughts on that?
I did. So, I don't know if folks remember from last few weeks, but my wife and I just, at the ripe young age of 50 and 54, we decided to reinvent ourselves. So we sold almost 80% of what we owned. We loaded the rest into a truck, threw our cat in a cat carrier, and drove all the way across the United States, landed in a state that we've never lived in, a city we've never lived in, Boise, Idaho. And guess what? I had to practice the fine art of introductions. I had to introduce myself to everybody. I only knew one person here. And so every single person I've come in contact with, I've had to introduce myself and introduce my wife. So it's been last week, I've probably done more introductions in the last week than I had in 10 years.
What's funny is that you remind me of something. I was in the Corps Cadets at Texas A&M, and a big thing about the tradition of what you do is something called whip out. You whip out to upperclassmen, and it's a rank thing. So you start with seniors. If there are seniors in your proximity, you go and you whip out to them, and you have to say your name and your rank and your major, right? And then they can ask you questions, and but that was the important thing. But there's a rank to who you introduce yourself to and when. And it's just so funny, but it's kind of a thing among tradition on campus is to go whip out to people, go meet as many people as you can, but there's a certain form to it, right? And I know you had some ideas on that. I'll start throwing up some banners here. While we're in the process of that, though, listeners, I want you to join in with us, interact with us through the comments, ask questions, provide comments, share some stories with us about maybe your favorite introductory techniques or things you might have heard or seen. But feel free to ask us questions because we've got a jam-packed show today that's going to go deep into how to survive or how to thrive in those first 30 seconds. Okay. So, Jim, why are proper introductions important?
Well, for me, any tool, any process, any way of conducting myself in a lost art is just a simple way to stand out. And so often in life, especially in business, the key, one person asked me, said, Jim, what's your philosophy for marketing? I said, it's real simple. I always just try to be a banana in a bucket of oranges. Real simple, right? And so anything you can do to separate yourself, to make people say, oh, wow, that's different. Oh, wow, that was unique. Oh, wow. And the funny thing is, it's not that it's unique. I mean, well, it is now, but this is a lost art. This is an art that used to be taught in schools. There was etiquette classes in high school, certainly in college. And I mean, if you walk up to a young person today, even say that word, they probably look at you cross-eyed. Etiquette, what does that even mean? Much less there would be a class about it, right? Now, I had the good fortune going in the military. In the military, just like Corps Cadets, you're taught etiquette. Now, we refer to it as something different in the military, right? But it's etiquette, essentially. It's respect for rank and position and those things are taught to us. And I really like to do things that are unique and help me stand out in the crowd. So I think that's the most important thing about a proper introduction is that no one does it, is that it's unique and that it is a lost art.
That's right. That's right. Well, even in Western culture, it's a thing to tip your hat and or take off your hat in that moment of introduction. Now, depending on where you go, some of them abide by that a little bit more so than others. But did you ever take any of those etiquette classes in high school or college?
I did. And so do you know where the idea of tipping your hat came from?
Well, I would think it'd be like saluting I guess revealing your face. But
correct. In the time of chivalry, when men wore armor, okay, and a noble person would have his armor on. Well, and to show respect for someone would be to put yourself in a vulnerable position. And can you think of any more vulnerable position if you were completely armored to take your helmet off, right? And reveal yourself to the person you were meeting. You would never allow yourself to meet someone with your face covered in armor, right?
That's right.
And so the tipping of the hat is a holdover from taking the hat completely off. And then, society likes abbreviations. Don't we, Tim and Jim, right? Society,
Right.
Society loves abbreviations. And so things just keep getting abbreviated. And so now we're to the point that now it's just 2 fingers to the brim, and that's all it takes, right?
Right.
But in the old days, that was taking off the helmet. And I kind of think about that for a moment. To put yourself in a vulnerable position that you thought meeting this person was so important that I'm going to put myself in a vulnerable position. And we're going to talk more about that. I know we will, that's really what it's about. It's about making sure that person understands you're not there to harm them.
Well, and it's the same for removing gloves too, right?
That's right. Removing gloves, taking off your hat, saluting, again, evolved down from if you hold up your sword hand and show that you didn't have a sword in it, well, then that meant you meant no harm, or a knife or a dagger or whatever. Because back then, all weapons were hand weapons. You had to hold a sword or hold a dagger. And so by doing this, right?
That's right.
And different countries that evolved, you had all kinds of salutes. Some were simple like this, some were like this. The British Army. Oh, wait, that's Monty Python's, right? or Benny Hill, right?
Yeah, one of those, yeah.
So, that's where all that comes from.
Huh. Well, and you were telling me earlier about the Japanese art of introduction, and I thought that was pretty interesting. In fact, I thought it was so interesting, I made a banner about it.
Well, again, if any of your anyone listening to this now or later, Japanese art is fascinating because traditionally art resides on the side of the brain that is artist, right? The fun side of the brain, the crazy side of the brain. Well, if you ever studied much about Japanese art is very exacting, very detailed, and there's all just even getting their paintbrushes out of the container. It's a whole rigmarole they got to go through, right? We just dump them out on they got it. And so the art of introduction in Japan is very, very highly practiced. And there's rules, very strict rules. We won't go into all of them, but one that I thought was very interesting was one of the rules they follow is always introduce the person of higher rank first to the person of lower rank. Now, in this modern society, people, ain't nobody better than nobody else, that rank and you shouldn't treat someone better. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about making sure that the person that is going to benefit from that introduction lets that other person know that they respect that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So say I brought you to Boise, Idaho, and I was going to introduce you to the person that runs this whole facility here, right? I would always introduce you to him, right? And put you in a position of humble position, right? Like the Japanese, you bow and you come in graciously, right? You don't come in like a bull in a china cabinet demanding this and demanding that. Well, Jim, I tell you what, I don't bow to nobody. This is America. We're proud of who we are. Oh, that's great. Fantastic. We're talking about the art of introduction and the art of putting yourself in a position that is not threatening, not domineering. This isn't a class of egos, right? A class of egos, right? I'm going to come out on top.
Right.
I've never seen a business person that had that attitude and every time they ever met somebody have success. You know why, Tim?
Why is that?
Nobody likes being treated that way. Nobody. That's right. Even when you're in the military and you have to, Tim, when you were in the Corps of Cadets, right, you were just starting off as a peon, you didn't enjoy it. I mean, it wasn't fun being a peon. You know what I mean? I mean, when I first went in this unit I was in the military, the lower rank had to get up against the wall when an upper rank walked by. I don't know if they did that in Corps of Cadets, but you had to
Yep.
get out of the way.
We had to do the same. Yep.
Man, when you're a private nothing, you can't go nowhere. You just stayed in your room. There's no point trying to go to the bathroom. Wait till everybody went to bed, because you would never make it down the hall. You were constantly having to stop, right? And that first time, man, when you just make that first little strike, that first little private first class, right? You think, man, somebody's gonna have to get against the wall for me to walk by now, right? And so it teaches something that I think we're missing, man. I think we're missing that. I think we're not, especially young people today, they don't have the benefit of understanding that the attainment of position is something that's worked for, that's earned, and that the going through that process makes it better. It makes it sweeter. It makes it more important to you, right?
Right.
And so when introducing someone to follow those rules, another thing the Japanese art of introduction talks about is it's not about giving the name, rank, and serial number of the person.
Right.
You know, hello, this is Tim Nichols, age 52, serial number 437-849-892, nation of origin, United States of America, city of origin, Dallas, Texas. That would be a horrible introduction, you know.
Yeah.
Going, I don't want to, right? It'd be like a robot. Now, what you do is you offer some information that you feel would make that person more interesting, or how about this, actually useful to the person you're introducing them to. You know, I might say, this is Tim, my friend Tim. And by the way, let me tell you a story about Tim. So you see these really cool scarf he's wearing, the handkerchief he's wearing. Do you know Tim makes those? Aren't those amazing? And what the purpose is to make that person human as quickly as you can.
Right.
The opposite of what I just did with the name, rank, and serial number. You want to humanize them. You want to make them a real, living, breathing person. And you need to do that in the introduction.
Yep. Yeah, I think it applies even to emails. You know, even emails or messenger introductions or anything across LinkedIn or Facebook. You know, and I try to do the same thing, even if it's written.
Absolutely.
You know, why are we taking the time to have this conversation?
That's right. That's right. That's right. And again, if you were looking for a way, we've had people on these calls and say, how do I stand out? You know, how do I make people remember me at a networking meeting? You know, how about if I do like Tim and Jim and I grow a funny mustache, or I do like Tim and wear a hat, right? I know I'll wear a hat. That's what I'll do. I'll wear a hat. Or I'll you know, some ladies I know, they have a big green purse with a big gold latch on it, right? That's how I get noticed, my big green purse. And this is something that is, now those are great tools. Absolutely. How do you get noticed walking across the room? Well, those are great ways. But if you really want somebody to remember you, an action, something you do, will make yourself stand out. And so if you're just you practice the art of introductions, I think that's a great way to stand out.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I do think it carries across to the written or the social media or any aspect of that. And I think there's certain etiquettes that you have even in doing those as well. Now, you know, a way I kind of marketed this, our show today is 30 seconds to thrive. Basically, you've got 30 seconds upon meeting someone for the first time to affect your relationship for the rest of your life. You know, and if you come at them with some 30-second pitch that some networking group told you to do, the higher ranking person that is, the more experience they have, the more of a reputation they have, and the more connections they have. What happens? Their guard starts going up. They feel like you're trying to sell them something. I really feel like it applies to just about anybody. But really, if you know, I know that when someone comes at me with some 30-second pitch that they're told to give me upon getting my name, we're pretty much through. You know, they've revealed to me what their intent is.
Right.
Well, and so I base my decision as to how I will engage them in the future based on that intent.
Well, you and I were joking around a little bit before the call, and I said, it reminds me of like if you go to a network meeting. You and I both been in a situation before where you've been invited somewhere. Friends invited you to come to their networking group, right? And you're just a guest. You're going to be a guest. Maybe they even already have someone in that position, right? If you're
right.
Like, say, I was representing a carpet cleaning company, and I went there, and they already got a carpet cleaner, so I know that's not going to be a place where I'm going to be able to go back. But everybody in that group says, wow, I've got one shot. I got one shot at selling old Bardwell something, right? And I said, it reminded me of that Jimmy Buffett song. I don't know if we have any Jimmy Buffett fans listening. There's a song he's got called Fins. And the lyrics, goes, fins to the left, fins to the right, and I'm the only bait in town. That's what you can feel like. You can feel like you're a piece of bait that's been thrown in the chum bucket and the sharks are just swimming around you, right? And nobody likes to feel that way. Who in the right mind wants to feel like a piece of bait, right? Feel like just a hamburger being put up on the bar with a bunch of basset hounds running around down there. I mean, you just, you know what I'm saying? It's coming. They're going to get you. And so when we introduce ourselves, I've seen people, boy, they just thought they were so cute. Their way of introducing was, hi, I'm Bob, and I'm the best financial advisor in this city. And by the way, is there any way that we can do business in the next 24 hours? I think I could change your life. That's their introduction. I mean, he's going for the jugular, right? I mean, he didn't even tell them their last name. He didn't even get, he just went straight for, if we do business the next 24 hours, I can save you some money. I mean, and listen, there are people way smarter than me with big old bank accounts full of money that teach that stuff, right? There's all kinds of them, all kind of gurus on the internet that, man, I tell you, they're cutthroats. If you ain't made a sale in the first 30 seconds, then you ain't going to make a sale. I just don't believe, that's just not me. And it doesn't work for me. And you know what? I would ask right now, anybody on the call, anybody ever listens to the call, send us an email. And if you are the type of person that likes it when someone does that to you, please let me know. I'm begging.
I'd
please.
say put it in the comments. Put it in the comments.
I've never had anybody say that. Right, Tim? No one's ever told me, oh, I love when someone hard pressure sells me right out of the gate. That's a great feeling. I love it.
That's right. Something about that is, anybody that's in our 3 million % peer advisory program, they've heard me talk about that, but really how important those first 30 seconds are, right? And so one thing I did was I came up with an infographic, which I will gladly send to anybody who requested in the comments, by the way. And I want to just go over that with everybody. So we're going to take a look at some tactical tips to implement for immediate impact. And Jim, I want you to go through these with me one by one, and let's just take a look and see what that looks like. Let's see here. So anchor their name, and really anchor your name with them as well. But gosh, I've had to work really hard on this, but one thing that I've noticed is that I'll meet somebody and we'll get 2 or 3 sentences into the conversation and I can't remember their name. Have you ever done that?
Well, you're talking about what did you say your name was? Yeah, no, that's something. And usually when I'm guilty of that, it's because I'm playing the what I'm going to say next game with everybody.
Yeah. There's just distraction.
I'm really not listening to them, Tim. I'm just really not. I'm playing 3 moves. It's like I'm playing chess instead of checkers. You ever heard that saying that when you're meeting people in a social environment, it is a bit of a game, but play checkers. Don't play chess. Chess, you're playing 5 moves ahead every time, right? You've got the end of the game in sight. Whereas checkers is a more warm, slow, just see how the game evolves, right? And so, I do that. And I've learned just the same techniques. I've been taught the same techniques you're talking about, that, you use their name in a sentence right away. Say their name back to them 3 times within the first 30 seconds. And that way you can remember the name.
My dad used to be a bank CEO, and earlier on in his, I'd say back in the 80s, I remember in junior high, he had bought this Memory Master program, right? That had tons of cassette tapes in it, like 12 cassette tapes. And it was different ways to memorize different things quickly. Now, I don't know that I still have it actually, but I don't know that any one of us ever went through the whole thing, because they had ways to memorize numbers and letters and have this certain visual to this certain number or letter and things like that. It was a big program. And, but something I thought about was just creating anchors, with your name. And I'll give you a good example. My wife is terrific at this. Her name is Heather. And when she introduces herself, she says she's Heather, sunny like the weather. Right. And that is a perfect description of who she is, because she brings light into that conversation, and they know she must be fun because she's sunny. Right. Now, she's probably not going to say she's cloudy or a thunderstorm like the weather, but so sunny like the weather is a good anchor for them to remember her name. But, as you were talking about removing hats or anything like that, that is also a great anchor. So if I were to tip my hat like that every time I met somebody, I know they would remember my name, because of what I did, not so much what I had on, but they would remember what I had on because of what I did. So if we can just come up with an anchor that we can use with their name,
one of my favorite I've ever heard, I've got a friend, he's up from around your area of the country. His name is Philip Hatfield. Okay.
Yeah, I know Philip. Yep.
Yeah. And Philip always introduces himself. He says, "Hi, I'm Philip Hatfield, the real McCoy." That's a great way for people to remember his name. The first time he said his name, I always remembered it. It depends on the environment I'm in, but if I'm in an environment where, going to be doing speaking or training or something like that, or doing my trade as far as representing a product in front of a group of people, I'll introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Jim Bardwell." And just as the name implies, I love storytelling and hearing great stories.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. By the way, we've got some comments here. Haley said she started using their name immediately since starting the 3 Million % program. So glad to know that, Haley. And then I noticed that Joe Silby was saying, yes, he was saying he can't stand the hard sell either, and make them like you and maybe make them laugh. Yes. Laughter is one of those good anchors, I think. So just like you were saying, Jim, about how you can take your name and set that anchor, but you can also say something funny and help them remember you. Right.
That's right.
So let's see, getting back to this. By the way, thank you, Haley and Joe, for sharing those comments. Keep them coming, folks. And feel free to ask questions or anything like that. Now, finding common ground. Now, that's one of those things that I found was important for me to do quickly. So, of course, I talk about deepening relationships quickly, elevating your profile, leveraging networks, building credibility, or establishing community. I'm trying to do those 5 things all the time anyway, right? But if I can find some common ground with them, that immediately deepens my relationship with them and builds credibility. I guess an odd story about how fast I've learned to do this. In 15 minutes, I found out a guy's criminal history that he wouldn't have told anybody, and it was because I looked back and said, why did he share that with me? Man, I wouldn't have told anybody that, and then come to find out he was also an illegal immigrant and was having to go to court over like DACA stuff and all that. And it affected his DWI and, all that stuff. And I was like, whoa, man, this got deep fast. you know, and this is just a 15-minute conversation, but I learned it was the order and sequence of the questions that I ask typically, right, that started him opening up his trust to me immediately, right? And I was just in shock. And Heather and I go to events, and she's like, why do these people tell you what they tell you? And all I can say is I've just learned to find someone or something in common as quickly as possible. That's why I ask where they're from, maybe what their hometown is, where they went to school, what their just where they like to travel, do they like to adventure, what they do, things like that. What's your experience on that, Jim?
No, that's a tactic that is taught in the military. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one of those old, like a lot of people haven't been in the military, but maybe they've seen a movie, right, about the military. And there's a scene, where the general walks up to the troops in the foxhole and he says, "Son, where are you from?" Right? And, "Oh, I'm from Kansas, sir." "Oh, okay, good. Now, how about you? Where are you from?" "Well, I'm from Texas," right? You've seen those in the movies, right? Well, I was in the Army one time, and this officer came up to us. He says, where are you from?" And I said, "Louisiana." He said, "I once spent the longest week of my life there one night. I totally understand. I totally understand why you joined the Army, young man." And of course, he walked away, and I just belly laughed. I mean, it's the funniest thing. And he did it with such a dry wit,
Yeah.
"I once spent the longest week of my life there one night." And so, and that's a great way. And here we are, Tim, 30 something years later, and I'm still telling that story. You tell me that didn't have an impact on me.
That's right. That's right. Again, it goes back to setting anchors too. But, I've also learned that it can reveal cultural perceptions that they may have about life.
Right.
About where they're from or something like that. So just like you being from Louisiana and me being from East Texas, I know that you and I share humidity and our disdain for humidity in common.
Oh man, I tell you, well, I've been here in Boise, Idaho for a week, and they have no humidity. I mean, zero. I mean, there's just nothing, right? And the only problem is, I mean, my whole life I've lived in the South, and I'm just, born and raised used to it. About the third day I was here, I woke up and, man, I felt like somebody had put me in the toaster oven. I mean, my hands and feet, I was like, I was reaching for the lotion and the lip balm and you should have seen me, Tim. I felt like
it was dry.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. So let's move forward here. Encourage conversation. So if we were to ask open-ended questions, we want to encourage them to respond in sentences, not in one answer responses, because that conversation dies pretty quick with yes, no, and one single word responses, right? So I put in here, I use who, what, and when to set up my why and how questions, right? Like, where are you from? And let's just play that game real quick. Jim, where are you from?
Well, originally, I'm born and raised in South Louisiana.
What town?
Denham Springs, Louisiana.
Denham Springs. And I might say, I'm from Nacogdoches. Who do you know from there? Or who do you know from East Texas? Right. And what I'm trying to do is whittle down through a sequence of questions who we may know in common somewhere between our past and our hometowns. You see what I'm saying? Or where you went to college, or who you knew in the military, and believe it or not, I know officers from the military and stuff like that, and so we can even find those common grounds, and a strange commonality for us was the whole Ziegler family, right? And who we know that, just like we know Philip Hatfield and Brian Flanagan and Andy Costas, and really Howard Partridge was a big one. Tom Ziegler, all of those we know in common, but neither one of us have seen each other in that group, in that setting, right? And so But if we were to set up the who, what, and whens, we can ask those why and how questions to get to those deeper diving type responses that we're looking for.
Absolutely. Maybe this will be a good topic for a future call, but it's also a great tool that I use in personality discernment. As you know, Tim, I'm certified DISC profile. I've studied under Dr. Robert Rome, and something I've used for years in business and also personal. And it's amazing how you can discern a personality just by how they answer questions.
Yeah.
Jim, where are you from? Denham Springs, Louisiana. Okay, well, great. Well, and did you go to high school there? Yes, I went to Denham Springs High School, home of the Yellow Jackets. By the way, when I was a senior in high school, we were 12-0, man. We had a great, you see, right away, you're saying, wow, this is a talkative person, right?
I'm hearing DI out of that, by the way.
Already we're getting DI. Exactly. Same question. Where are you from? Where'd you go to high school? Denham Springs High School. Graduated in 1985. 3.9.
Sounds like a C. A C analytical.
C on my hands, right? And again, personality discernment isn't about getting over on somebody. It's the opposite. See, if I can discern someone's personality, then I can better serve them. Then I can be a better asset to them. Then I can be a better help to them in achieving their life goals and dreams because I understand what language they speak.
Yeah.
Right. And it's no different than listening for an accent. And if I hear an accent and say, oh, well, maybe they speak French. Parlez-vous français? Okay, no, they don't speak French. Well, sprechen Sie Deutsch. And if you can speak all of those languages, which if you understand personalities, you can speak that person's language, right? You can better serve them.
That is so true. So true. Even just knowing their culture, even though, is a big deal with that. So, all right, moving forward, making friends first. Business will come later, right? So let's read this out. Business will come with time and trust. Defenses go up when people feel like they're being sold or pitched. Trust comes with depth. Thoughts?
Well, it's all right there in those two sentences. I mean, again, the best way to do this is look in the mirror. What do you respond well to? What do you like? Do you like being sold? Do you like being put on the spot and made to feel like you're in one of those old detective movies where they put the spotlight on you and say, "All right, sir, nothing but the facts. Give me the facts, nothing but the facts. Where were you last Thursday at 9 p.m.? What did you say? Oh, well, last time I asked you that question, you're like, man, I'm being interrogated, And you and I, before the call, as we always do, we're talking, and I was joking. I said, I've seen that. I've been in social groups or networking groups, and I looked across the room and I thought, whew, man, I'm not going to let that guy talk to me. Ain't no way I'm going to let him corner me because, man, he's.
I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi, Jim, but got some hesitation there.
He just met him.
All right, we got you back now.
All right, good. I'm glad to be back.
So
what did I miss?
I don't know.
You don't know, huh?
That's the awesome part.
That reminds me of a story of a lawyer friend I had down in Louisiana, and he was always late for court. I mean, all the time late, and the judge had enough of it. And he looked at that lawyer and he said, "Listen, I tell you what, if you're late tomorrow, we're going to start without you. I'm not putting up with this. If you're late tomorrow, look at your client right now, and if you're late tomorrow, we're proceeding without it." Well, next day came around. Sure enough, he was late. Well, guess what the judge did? He, boom, gavel on the thing, says, "That's it, we're starting." And the guy's like, "Well, my lawyer's not here." He said, "Well, you should have had a better lawyer. Let's get started." Well, soon enough, 3-4 minutes later, the lawyer comes rushing in. He says, "Your Honor, I'm sorry I'm late. But I'm here. And he says, the judge says, "Mr. Attorney, I told you I'd start without you, and I did. Your client has been unrepresented in the court of law and before the bench without representation, naked to the gavel. What do you have to say for yourself?" And he looked around. He didn't miss a beat, and he said, "Well, how are we doing so far?"
Kind of sounds like something I might say.
How we doing so far? Maybe you're doing better without me. I don't know.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
All right. So I do hate that we missed some key information there from you as Wi-Fi kind of silenced you a little bit. But you are correct that it is right there, that we got to make friends first, because people won't care. I think it I think it might have been Zig Ziglar that said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
and
I was just telling how, I've seen that, firsthand in networking circles where people have just gone in and I've looked across the room and thought, man, I'm not talking to that person.
Yeah.
He starts walking towards me, I'm going the other direction, because I can tell he's just grabbing people by the throat and choking the money out of them, and nobody likes to feel that way. Nobody. And so why would you want to feel, well, Jim, you understand, I'm desperate. If I don't make a sale this week, the bank's foreclosing on the business. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. And COVID-19's got to shut down, man. If I don't get in there and make a sale, why do you think I'm here? I'm here to make a sale. And if you allow yourself to get in that mindset, if you allow yourself to get in that almost frantic, for lack of a better word, a frantic mindset, I'm gonna let you in a little secret right now. Nobody wants to do business with frantic.
Or desperate.
Yeah. Or desperate or weak. Nobody wants to do trade with a weak person. Because guys, if you ever watch those shows, those what is it, like American Greed or Dateline or those TV shows about people that pull scams on people, or people that embezzle money, or people that sell people stuff that ain't real. What do they always say? They all those stories have a common thread. They don't start off as monsters. They don't start off as mean and evil people. They get themselves in a bind. Ooh, I got in a bind, and I planned on paying them back. I really did, Your Honor. I just got behind. And so people have a natural aversion to someone who's in a bind. We don't want to do business with someone that's in a bind. When you're meeting a client, and for the first time especially, again, we said this on 2 or 3 shows ago. Don't start in on all that stuff, man. Don't start in on that you're desperate, that COVID-19 is this thing's about to kill us all, and all this and all that. And people don't want to do trade with that. People want to do trade with people who are confident and comfortable and assured, especially like you in your trade. Oh my gosh, Tim. I mean, the worst thing you can portray in financial world is desperation.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, as you were talking, the words hit me. There's an implied broken trust.
Implied broken trust.
Implied broken trust. So that if someone is selling out of desperation, it already sounds like I can't trust what you're going to tell me next. That's how I'm processing that.
Yep.
You agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, but we have a pardon me, we have a built-in aversion to desperation.
Yeah.
Right. Built-in.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
If you're a young lady and you're at the high school dance and you're sitting up against the wall with all your other young lady friends, and some guy comes along and he says, hey, pardon me, would you dance with me? I've asked every other girl in here. Every other girl has turned me down. And if I don't get to dance with somebody, see all them boys over there on the bleachers, they're all going to make fun of me all next week in school. Please, will you dance? Now, what girl in her right mind is going to dance with somebody asking that way, right? You don't want to be someone's desperate move, and your client does not want to be your desperate move. Right.
That's exactly right. And Joe agrees with us, by the way, on the implied broken trust. There's something about it that just says, we're at the end of my trust. I can no longer go on from here. And so I think that point for me where the worst I heard was at a networking event. guy wanted me to go to the bathroom so he could show me the water filtration that he was selling. I'm thinking, you even brought it here with you? That's the ultimate hard sell right there. But
it reminds me of that movie with Smith. What's his name? Where he's the desperate salesman. He's dragging
Will Smith, Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah.
He's dragging that machine all over New York City in the subways, and I mean that you talk about implied trust, bro. I mean, man, you drag that in your front door. Here, you got to buy this, and it's all beat up and been drug all over the city.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah, you're gonna love it so much. Trust me, I love it. I sleep with it.
And by the way,
I gotta get a drink of water.
No, that is okay. And for the audience, feel free to comment, ask questions, anything like that. We'd love to have you interact with this conversation. All right, now let's move forward to stay positive and give praise. Boy, that is a major topic right now, because I really see it in the social media world, and people are, in my perspective and perception, right? If you follow anybody's personal Facebook, which I encourage people to, because from a personal branding standpoint, that's how you're going to know, like, and trust me, not by what I say on a business Facebook page or my LinkedIn profile or something like that, right? And so what's happening is we're conveying our true beliefs, right? So, as part of this, negativity, sarcasm, and criticism are relationship assassins. So when we're making introductions, you can make that, you might be able to mask it, right? If you are at your core negative or sarcastic or critical, you can mask it during that first 30 seconds, but eventually it comes out. So I would encourage you to change your mindset to a mindset of positivity and give him praise where you can. Encourage people where you can. Find the good in every conversation, person, group, or circumstance. Be that light in the room. And so if there are times when I'm down, let's say if I've had a rough day, let's say as a financial advisor, if I would have lost a major client one day, something like that, and here it comes time for me to go to the weekly happy hour networking event, I'm probably not going to go, because no matter what I say, I'm not going to be able to hide that look on my face.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I know that my face conveys so much. And so if I'm at all in my core negative or hurting or anything like that, I know I need to not let everybody see that. But what are your thoughts on that, Jim?
So I am a big believer in that you can learn so much from movies, TV programs, because it's not by accident. Character development and character positioning, these are all personality profile, and they hire very, very smart personality profile experts to help develop characters for movies. So again, show them age a little bit here, but you remember the movie in the 80s, Aliens? Right?
Yeah.
The space Marines go to the planet, and instead of one alien, it's a whole planet full of them, right? And you remember the characters, right? So they were all space Marines, and there was the older sergeant, the drill sergeant. Remember, he had such a positive attitude, and good morning, Marines. Every formation's a parade, every meal's a banquet, and every paycheck is a fortune, right? And then you had the natural leader, right? The guy that was after the sergeant was killed, he took over, and he was a D personality. You remember him? Well, then you remember the guy, Bill, he's a good Texan. What's his name? Bill. He recently passed away. Anyway, he played the guy that complained all the time. You remember his character? When they found a little girl, and she kind of knew what to expect and what the aliens would do, and he was like, "Well, great, why don't we put her in charge?" He was just always complaining. You remember that guy?
Right.
Well, when people watch movies like that, and you ask them, "Well, which character do you want to be?" Do you want to be the upbeat sergeant? Do you want to be the natural leader? Do you want to be the gutsy female lead? Sigourney Weaver strapping that flamethrower to that pulse rifle and taking on the queen all by herself? You want to be that complaining, snivelly, whiny, corporal that just, great, well, we put her in charge. You want to be that one?
Yeah, it's Bill Paxton, Joe says.
Bill Paxton, that was his name, Bill Paxton. Nobody would pick that character. But yet now, right now, today, you go to a networking event and it's just a bunch of Bill Paxton alien characters, like everybody. You can't find the drill sergeant, you can't find the strong silent type, you can't find the brave female lead, you can't find them. It's like an entire room of Bill Paxtons, right? This coronavirus has got us down. My numbers are nothing compared to last year. If the government don't step in and do something, I'm going to go out of business. Oh, my God, this is ridiculous. This thing ain't even real. And my cousin lost everything. Her swimming pool company went bankrupt. I mean, that's all you hear.
It sounds like you've heard some of that.
Oh, my gosh, that's all you hear. And if you walk in a room and all you do is not that, I'm not saying you got to be, a motivational speaker. I'm not saying you got to walk in there like Tony Robbins and blow up. I'm saying just don't do that.
Right.
You're going to stand out right now, Well, Jim, you don't understand. That's what's going on in my business. That's the reality I'm living in. You need to listen up. You need to buck up, Buttercup. Yeah, no kidding, Sherlock. It's the reality we're all in. Okay, I promise you. You're not. You think you're doing the world a favor by letting them know how much everything sucks right now. We know, all of us do, right? Maybe you need to go travel out to Pennsylvania and find some Amish community that don't know that this is going on, and maybe you can tell them. Okay, but we know. Okay. Now, what might blow people away is if you walk into that meeting and you say, man, I tell you something right now. I am excited about the future. We have an opportunity right now. I said, right now, the company I work for right now, Fiber Protector, we're going through a huge growth spurt because we have figured out that, down means up. Mm-hmm. Up means down. It's a roller coaster. That's what business is. It's up and down and up and down. Doesn't really matter what caused it. Matters not, right? If it wasn't coronavirus, it'd have been something else. It'd have been a stock market crash. It would have been a shortage of I don't know. I mean, there's always something, right? A big box store opened up down the street from me. That's it. We're out of business. I mean, there's always something, guys. The difference is walking in that room and bringing forth that positive, find good in that conversation, find good in that circumstance. People say, well, I'd almost have to make something up. That's how bad my life is right now. I'd have to tell a story. Then tell a story. Tell a story. We don't need to hear how rotten everything is because guess what? It's rotten for us too. It is. All right. But if I sat down right now and just started rattling off the way my year has gone so far, Tim, you could help me out. You could whoop out your fiddle for accompaniment and I would just sit there and let me tell you what happened. In March, this happened. And then the next thing happened. And then the next shoe fell. Shoes hurt, my whole wardrobe fell. And then the next thing, I could just tell you a story by the time we'd all be crying. We just have a big cry fest on here. Ain't nobody want to hear all that, right? They want to hear how I've come to an exciting new city, Boise, Idaho. I've never lived here before. I'm meeting new people. I've met 4 or 5 new neighbors. Didn't even know they existed a week ago. Didn't know they were alive. And now they're friends of mine, right? This is exciting stuff. It's an exciting time to be alive. Now, if I did that in a networking meeting, don't you think people might come up to me afterwards and say, I'm sorry, I missed what it is you sell, but I want to know more about it. Right?
Yeah, right. You talk about movie references. one of the movies I like is Couples Retreat, and the yoga instructor in that is always positive no matter what happens. But his favorite line is encouragement.
All
And
right.
so anytime somebody says something negative, he says encouragement, and then they complain about it. He says, then do it. you
That's
know,
right. That's right.
and
That's right.
so a lot of times, if anything gets negative around here, I just say to them, encouragement.
That's right. That's right. You know, I try and be like Donald Sutherland and Kelly's Heroes. You ever seen that movie? Kelly's
No, I
Heroes?
didn't.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood and Donald Sutherland. He's in that show, and he plays this military guy, and he's constantly trying to encourage people to be positive. And the way he does it, he's like, always with the negative vibes, man. Always with the negative vibe. Positive. Think positive. You got to have the positive vibes. And it's just a really good character, Donald Sutherland. I love him. But that's the way you got to be, man. You got to be something unique and different. And man, right now, being positive, you'll stick out like a sore thumb.
Well, and that leads us into this next key here. And next idea is to guide emotional responses. And you say, well, how do you do that in a conversation? Well, as a financial advisor, one thing that I actually coach quite a few financial advisors. And one thing that comes up is they've been taught to profile, right? And ask people a certain series of questions to learn their goals, their assets, maybe their tax situation, and just there's this whole list of things that they would need in order to learn more about someone to help them. And so after years of being taught that and practicing that and things like that, the natural tendency for them is to go into profiling mode in a networking type opportunity. So one thing that I wanted to do actually with everybody, because the opposite could be true for someone who is, let's say, a counselor or something like that. They might get onto the emotional side of things. So my encouragement to our listeners is to guide emotional responses. So alternate between questions that require fact-based answers and emotion-based answers. And if you do that, you won't appear as a profiler or a counselor. But if you do get caught in that, right, if you're profiling, someone's going to cut you off pretty quick and say, hey, it's going to feel like a hard sell. On the other side of that, if you get into too much emotion-based responses, that turns into a 3-hour counseling session that you didn't intend on. Right.
And, it's funny, you say all this and people think, man, that's a lot to keep track of. Man, you got to be paying attention. And I thought this was just a networking meeting. I thought we were going to go there and eat some snacks and drink a few free glasses of wine and eat some cheese and maybe listen to somebody speak and go home. Man, it seems like yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, we're still in the first 30 seconds.
You know what I'm saying? This is important stuff. This is important stuff. And you've got to be conscious about it. You've got to be thinking about it. Someone says, so as I'm talking to someone, I'm going to keep track of alternating between these two. Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. Oh man, I'd have to be really paying attention to do that. Yes, you would have to be paying attention to do that.
Well, and it starts to unlock doors that you couldn't access otherwise. That's how a guy gave me his criminal history in 15 minutes.
Yep.
And I wasn't looking for it. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no. I was tidied up there. I just had a little bit of a dribble off there. You thought I was still going, and I was stopped.
Okay, good. All right. So let's move forward with that. I think we have gotten that. And last thing we're going to look at as far as trying to create these tactical tips to 30 seconds to thrive, listen with genuine interest, because if you mentioned chess earlier, I look at it like billiards, right? If you're already trying to set up your next shot, but with the question that you're going to ask, once they give you their response, it becomes obvious to them that you're not really paying attention to the answer, and so listen intently to their responses. So make them feel heard and important. And of course, we've already talked quite a bit on that. But anything to add to that, Jim?
Absolutely. And again, guys, this boils down to treat others the way you want to be treated. Treat others the way you feel like you would. I've experienced it. I've been in some type of environment where I met somebody and was talking to them, and they were talking to me, and I got to where I was telling a little story or talking about something, and they were looking right past me. They were doing this, and they were watching somebody walk across the room. Oh yeah. And how did that make you feel when that happened? That person was already they had done figured out that if they're in the mortgage business and you introduce, well, how you doing? What are you doing here? Well, I just moved here and just bought a new house and we just closed last Friday. Well, that person in the mortgage business think, oh, well, I ain't gonna sell this person anything. This person ain't, they can't even refinance yet. This person's nothing to me. They're not gonna be worth a dime to me for at least another couple of years. And they still stand in front of you, but they're sizing up their next target. They're looking for their next thing. They're, oh yeah, okay.
Yep. Just saw it come up. Joe agrees with that. People are good at spotting fake interest. I've learned that I may be the problem too. So if they're not listening intently, I'm wondering, are they getting bored with what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I start asking myself, am I speaking in terms of their interest as well? So I really think this one plays both ways. Listen and speak with genuine interest or in the interest of the other person, right? Because I've had them, I kind of gauge as I'm talking going, are they checking out on me?
Right.
Have I taken some dirt road here and and we're off the beaten path, and conversationally we're out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, I always try to check that, but also check my listening to hear if I'm listening with genuine interest, with authenticity.
Yeah. It's like playing badminton with a 5-year-old, right? A 5-year-old can't play tennis, but they can play badminton because that little shuttlecock goes back real slow, right? But every time they hit it, you can't hit it. All you end up doing is running and picking it up, going back to the net, serving it to them, and they hit it, and you can't hit it back. And so after a while, you're going, this ain't no fun. I'm just sitting here playing badminton with a 5-year-old. Are you that 5-year-old? Be honest with yourself. And, one thing I tell everybody, and I try and keep my mind on this too, is, if you're talking to somebody and, this says 30 seconds. We spent an hour talking about a 30-second interaction here. 30 seconds is a short amount of time, guys. That's a short amount of time. I've seen people take 15 minutes to explain how they were finding a parking spot at the event we were at. Now, we got to take ownership of stuff like that, guys. If your conversational skills are at that level, I was coming in the parking lot, and now, Tim, do you know? I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if I've ever told you or not. Maybe I did. Last time we met, I think I did tell you. But anyway, I think I don't know that that I drive a large Dodge pickup truck. It's green. Now, I know what you're thinking, a green pickup truck. Who in the world want a green pickup truck? But I actually special ordered this. You see, the green was the same color as my grandfather. Now, it was on my mother's side, my father's side. I can't rightly remember which side it was on. Let me think. Matter of fact, my wife knows. Myrtle, was that my paternal grandfather or my mother's father's grandfather had that green? Anyway, don't worry about that. But anyway, so as I'm pulling in here, and you're like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Right? I've done messed up. I done got locked in with this guy, and I got to get out of here. Right? And the art of conversation, maybe that's a whole nother call, right, Tim? The art of conversation is, again, a lost art. It is, people think, oh, people like details. No, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't like details. They take a novel that takes you a month to read, and they turn it into a 2.5-hour movie. Most people like movies. Okay, think about it. Turn that story into a movie. Turn it into something that you can watch in just a few minutes. So, yeah.
Yep. And something to encourage everyone on too is, we might have to have another call on the art of conversation, because let's say someone came in and was going deep with you like that and that you felt like they're wasting my time. I'm here to meet people, and I've got a goal of how many appointments that I'm going to get out of this, and when I say appointments, I'm talking about 15-minute appointments to learn how to help one another grow. This isn't to sell anybody anything, but if somebody comes at me like that, I'm looking for who to introduce them to, right? As opposed to sitting and enduring that conversation. So, I do think that other calls can come out of this, but for listeners, I want to encourage you to continue this conversation in the comments, continue to ask questions. We want to continue this conversation into the future through the comment section of this show. Now, I know that we are at our time, and so I want to thank you for joining us. Real quick, I'm with 3 Million%. We're a peer advisory program of business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals. And we actually meet in small groups to help one another grow. We share our victories, our challenges, and our experiences with one another. But we actually operate through a structured curriculum, a structured format of how best to help one another grow. And so that's where a lot of this information comes from on my end. And I know that Jim has done this for years. But Jim, tell them a little bit about Fiber Protector America and what you do for Fiber Protector America.
Certainly, Tim. So I am the Executive Director of Sales, Marketing, Education, and I have the wonderful job of basically being the person that interacts with the public when it comes to this wonderful product, which is a high-end textile sealant out of Norway. The name of the company here in the United States is Fiber Protector America. And again, feel free. I know we always put our contact information if anybody wants to learn more about this product, or maybe even they might want to find out how they can get involved with our organization. We have a group of licensed applicators all across the United States, Canada, Mexico, Australia, and Tim would like to announce also now New Zealand. We have someone in New Zealand now. So so we're growing and expanding and would love to talk to somebody about that.
Well, and to bring that up, since you mentioned New Zealand, we are now in 5 states. 3 Million% is now growing in 5 different states. We just added Mississippi. So
all right.
Anyway, I'm excited about that. But listeners, thank you for joining us. Click the Learn More button. And I've got a free 3 Million% book for you if you're watching the recording of this. But again, keep the conversation going. We'll put our contact information in the comments for you. You can always find us on Facebook or LinkedIn as well. But make sure you join us next Monday at 2:00 on the 3 Million% page or on the Tim Nichols Strategist page. And Jim's information will be there for us as well. So that's just where the show airs live, or on Facebook. Or on YouTube. So anyway, thanks again for joining us, and we will sign off, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Have a good weekend.